Continued Yellow Vest protests in France have left the nation deeply divided. And now accusations that the movement has been hijacked by anti-Semitic factions are sparking political outrage. A recent wave of graffiti and vandalism aimed at the Jewish community is raising concern of a much bigger problem in a country already dealing with the longest uprising it's ever seen. Here's RT's Charlotte Dubinsky with the story.
Outrage after yet another anti-Semitic attack in Paris. The latest was here in the 4th arrondissement of the city. The German word for Jews, Juden, was sprayed across this bagel shop near the old Jewish quarter. The anti-Semitic graffiti was discovered at the weekend. Many have likened it to the anti-Semitic inscriptions that were targeting Jewish businesses in Germany in the 1930s. And some have already decided who the culprit is.
Today, in the streets of Paris, the word Juden, Jews, was painted on the window of a Bagelstein restaurant. This Act 13 by the Yellow Vests has precedents: attacks against institutions, anti-Semitic acts. How far will it go?
Act 13, Juden in Paris. Act 12, insults in front of a synagogue in Strasbourg. Act 9, the anti-Semite Rissen in a yellow vest. Everywhere the same thing is happening, and it's a tragedy.
It's not the first time that the Yellow Vests have been accused of anti-Semitism. During the 6th week of protests known as Act 6, a series of anti-Semitic incidents were reported, including a group of protesters singing a song popularised by an anti-Semitic comedian. Another group was accused of insulting an Auschwitz survivor on the metro. So what have the Yellow Vests themselves got to say about it?
The Yellow Vests are not racists. They're peaceful. They believe in the Republic. They're peaceful, tolerant, and want to live better in their country. It's possible that among the Yellow Vests there are some crazies and racists. That's no different than the rest of French society. The goal of the government is to tarnish the Yellow Vests. First, they tried to identify Yellow Vests with hooligans. But that didn't work.
We took to the streets of the capital to find out who locals think are responsible.
Honestly, I don't know if there is any connection to the Yellow Vests. It's easy to just blame everything on them. There's just a lot of anti-Semitism in France and in other countries.
I don't think it's the Yellow Vests at all. It's not something they want to be connected to. I think this is just racism.
It's shocking for me and for a lot of people, as the media are talking about it all the time, but I don't understand how it could happen.
It's disgusting. We're living in a moment I never thought we would in France.
However, the restaurant owners have dismissed the link, saying the incident probably occurred several hours before the Yellow Vest protest. This does, though, come at a time when anti-Semitism in France has been rearing its ugly head. Last November, the French Prime Minister said anti-Semitic acts in France had increased by 69% in the first 9 months of 2018. While the government has promised to crack down on this surge of anti-Semitic attacks, it's clear that some have decided to wrongly jump on the bandwagon and blame the Yellow Vests, at least when it comes to this latest incident. Charlotte Dubinsky, RT, Paris.
All right, for more on everything coming out of Europe, we're being joined now by former UK MP George Galloway. Okay, George, French authorities say anti-Semitic acts have surged 74% from 2017 to 2018. The Interior Minister said anti-Semitism is spreading like poison. First, what do you make of those numbers? And second, how and why are they attributing this uptick to the Yellow Vests?
Well, of course, those figures predate the Yellow Vest movement by quite a long distance. Anti-Semitism in France is a real thing, and was long before there was any substantial presence of North African Muslims, for example, in France. Don't forget that the French collaborators, the Vichy government under Nazi occupation, were putting their own Jewish citizens onto trains and sending them to the Holocaust, to the gas chambers and the mass murder, annihilation of Jews. This happened elsewhere, of course, in Europe, in the Netherlands, in the Baltic states, in the Ukraine, but in France they were not in second place. So anti-Semitism is a real thing, and as the Yellow Vest movement is a large, very large, and inchoate political space. Inevitably, in that space, anti-Semites will be operating, just as Islamophobes will be operating. Anti-black racists will be operating. If the Yellow Vests are French society on the march in microcosm, then of course present in that microcosm will be the same kind of phenomena as exist in the society as a whole. But equally present is the need for the French state and those who wish to defeat the Yellow Vests to deploy, to militarize any smear which can turn the public in France against them. And I think both of those things are present in this story today.
So you feel that the casting the Yellow Vests as anti-Semitic will help put an end to these demonstrations?
Well, it helps to marginalize them, to other them, that they are somehow anathema to all right-thinking people in France. That's the game. It doesn't mean it's not happening. That's the last thing I'm saying. Anti-Semitism is a real thing. It's a foul, racist poison, which in the lifetime of some people watching this caused the mass annihilation of millions of Jews. So no one should ever minimize it. Indeed, it's illegal to deny the existence of the Holocaust in many European countries, including in France, and rightly so, in my opinion. But just because anti-Semitism exists, it doesn't mean that every movement against the establishment and against bankers, for example. I'm really against the finance capital system, but I don't have an anti-Semitic atom in my body. Just because you're against bankers and Wall Street doesn't mean you're against Jews.
Right. And you know, Edouard Philippe, back in November, warned that France's pro-Nazi regime never really died. Another report says that French jihadists have targeted Jews, such as the 2011 Islamist gunman who shot a rabbi and 3 children at a Jewish school in Toulouse. But these aren't Yellow Vests. Is the French media just sort of deliberately trying to conflate the two?
It's a conflation, but look, the Vichy spirit never died in France. It was never defeated. It exists. And then you have the presence of Islamist fanatics now in France who equally harbor dark, sinister, satanic, anti-Semitic views. These are two real things. But the Yellow Vest movement is a movement of all the people of France, right, left and center, black and white, and all kinds of opinions and prejudices, because it is a microcosm of French society as a whole. So the Yellow Vest leaders have to, as they have, make clear their absolute abhorrence of all racist ideas and manifestations, and redouble their efforts to bring the Macron administration down, because the people of France require political change.
George Galloway, thank you so much for clearing up this topic for us.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.